Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Forest podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd related media. This is our Bad Batch Monday. Yes, we know it's not catchy. And today we are going to be doing episode 11, Devil's Deal. But before we get into the episode, I just want to pat ourselves a little bit on the back because this is our 50th upload. We had no idea what this was going to happen when we started this, just kind of for us. And now we're at 50. So thank you so much for hanging there with us. And
Yes.
so now let's get into Devil's Deal because I know that at least one of us is going to have an issue with this episode. So, Goose, what did you think?
I have very, very conflicted feelings about it. Not in terms of like the quality of the episode, but more so it's more of a philosophical gripe with the structure of the episode. With the with the structure of the episode in lieu of how the whole series has been structured so far. So as a whole, in terms of like storytelling, I think it was a solid episode. I think if it was told within the canon of the Clone Wars, I think I would have been like absolutely on board with this episode. I thought in that sense it was great in terms of like how it's setting up things post Republic and within the Empire, especially when you contrast it to a couple episodes ago when we saw what's happening on Raxus and the Confederacy, and now with the Empire, and now like with an old Republic planet that didn't want the Republic, but now is suffering the consequences of accepting the Republic and having it turn into the Empire. So I think it's interesting in terms of like that duality. However, like my issue was obviously that this is a show about the Bad Batch, and then the Bad Batch is basically non-existent in the episode. I understand that it's a setup for, the next episode for them to come in full blast and help out in whichever way they help out. But I don't know. We can obviously discuss amongst ourselves, like if it's a correct way to introduce some of the characters that were introduced. Spoiler alert: Hera, and all the characters from the Rebels. I'm not a Chopper fan. I said it.
You're not? I love
it.
Chopper.
That's if we were doing a droid ranking, Chopper would be bottom. All the way at the bottom. I'm sorry. That's it. But those are my thoughts.
I love Chopper. Chopper is such an asshole, and I love him.
Yeah. I think most people either just love him or are me, because I'm the only person I've seen that is not a fan of Chopper. But that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think, Mo?
I, on the other hand, I thought it was good. I was like, I'm taking a break from the Bad Batch. They've been sort of like doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
You still have the theme of the clones second guessing themselves, because you still have clones second guessing themselves, but within a bigger context. We do get to see, again, characters from the past, from the prequels, and characters from Rebels. I think it was only fair if they showed Kanan that I guess they should show Hera, baby Hera.
Baby Hera.
Well, not teenage. Well, kind of like, I don't know what was their age, but it seemed like whatever. That's the new Disney thing. Babyfy everybody. See which one sticks.
Yes.
I don't know if it was intentional or not. I mean, clearly the music implied how intentional it was on how they might be trying to bring the Force within different contexts, especially when Hera was explaining to Omega, oh, it's a feeling, and then you had like the Force theme going on. So I'm like, oh, are they setting up like, the basis for Squadron or whatever other Star Wars series is coming down the road? So if it's intentional, kudos to them, because it was like subtle enough to just like hear it in the background, but not like obvious enough to tell you like, yes, pilots feel the Force, because you wouldn't express it that way. You would just express like, I just feel in the moment. I just have that energy or whatever you feel. I haven't seen Rebels in a while, so to me, Hera's voice sounded different. Nani might.
Yeah, there was like an
Well,
accent to it, and yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'll,
So,
that's something that was odd to me too. But thanks to watching the Pink Milk After Dark on Friday, I was able to. They were able to clarify for me that apparently Hera lost worked on like not having her accent after she and Sham and her
Left.
father had like
Uh-huh.
the falling out that we'll apparently see in the next couple of episodes. But in one episode of Rebels, when she is talking with her father, I saw a clip online, and in that episode, like her accent comes back when she's talking to him. So it's something that she
so
suppresses.
it's okay. So it's like an
Okay.
intentional thing.
So it's like a legit
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
I just thought like they completely forgot and like they just did the character.
So did I. So did I. But thanks to the folks at Pink Milk for
Clarifying
talking
that
about it
for
before us.
I love that there's an answers to everything. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry. Like,
It's like,
somebody will figure it out.
yeah.
somebody or somebody would like just like wrench something back.
Yeah.
into-
Retcon is like, well, if you think about it, it's all romance
This
languages
way,
and
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And when a Twi'lek gets old, their accent, whatever.
You can explain something. It's fine.
It was nice finally to see again like twi'leks not being slaves.
Mhm.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not
Specifically
sure why.
sex slaves.
Oh, wow,
sex
yeah.
slaves.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does happen in the galaxy far, far away as it happens here. So
Mhm.
this Earth. So, and then I'm not sure what it don't like. Where I think it's weakest. It's the Empire. Like, and that
Mhm.
might be also intentional. They're just like all over the place. But you would, I would like have to see more like interaction between like Crosshair and whoever is like leading the Empire, because that's still the root of the Bad Batch. Like, we could have seen, they could have like put that spin on it. Like, yeah, still the Bad Batch, where we're seeing the one solo act Crosshair, which I think they kind of missed a little bit. They just left like Crosshair has just been in the background, just doing nothing, like stuff like taking somebody down. So, but all in all, it was like a breath of fresh air. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I agree with both of you in certain things. I actually really enjoyed the episode as well. Love seeing Hera again. I love Chopper. Sorry.
Okay.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, the show doesn't necessarily have to be one thing. Like, it definitely is a show about the Bad Batch and the family that they're forming and, finding their place in the world post the Clone Wars. But it also is about what happened, when democracy died with thunderous applause and, the repercussions of that. Just like, Mando's kind of doing what happens after the fall of the Empire. The Bad Batch, even if, they have been the focus of the show, you are seeing like what happens when the Empire, like right after Order 66, which is a time period that we hadn't really explored before, how the Empire is trying to consolidate power and, make enemies at the same time, which is like kind of what Mo was saying. I think they haven't found their footing on how to like live in the Empire now and control everybody. Like, they haven't found their footing on that yet, and it is cool to see it from that side. I think it definitely would have done better if they focused a little bit more on Crosshair, because then you do have the focus of like, we are the Bad Batch. It's just this episode was mostly about Crosshair, who's still a part of the Batch, but he's now working for the bad guys. I did think it worked well because I think Ryloth is more just like an example of the systems and what happens to them now that the Empire comes into power. And using Ryloth was a good idea because it's the planet that we've been invested in, because we've cared about it since Clone Wars, and then again with Rebels. So it was good to do it this way. And if you would have done it from the point of view of the Bad Batch, it would have just turned into another doing a job for Sid episode. The way they did it from the perspective of, characters that we already know and love, General Syndulla and his wife that we had never met before, and then Hera, we get to lend more gravitas to like how these planets are faring. Like General Syndulla, the man that we meet in Rebels, is like the super extremist. And here you see how he's like trying his best to find peace within, because he's so tired of fighting, and how all of that just backfires in this one episode. So, the Bad Batch wasn't the core, but I still thought it was really, really good. And obviously it's going to lead to more things coming forward. So I think it was a good decision all in all to do it this way. So that's my take.
Oh, Mo, you're muted.
That transition with
There
like
you go.
Hera's father being like, "Oh, let's try to work this piece out." But the moment they took Hera, it's like, he
No.
went all taken. He went like,
Yeah. He went Liam Neeson. It's like, no.
Liam Neeson.
You're not
Well, and
gonna
you can
do
even
this.
tell, like at the beginning of that fight, he started stunning people, and then by the end of it, he's not stunning people. It's like you're just getting on my last nerve right now.
Like,
And
I'm gonna shoot you, Tess.
well, and then the sad thing is that he was able to like keep his anger under control and not shoot Ta, who totally deserved it, because that guy, man, what an opportunistic ass. He was actually able to control himself, and then he was set up completely. And now, you know, he's a traitor for something he didn't even do. So that's
right.
screwed up, but oh well.
I mean, but I think I think that whole point of setting him up by the Empire would have been way more considerably stronger if, to Mo's point, we had a stronger antagonist going on through the series. Because I think when the series started and we had Tarkin as like the antagonist, like it was, I mean, his automatically by having Tarkin, like his presence is very menacing, and you have a clear person that's like, okay, this is the person that we're fighting against. And once he was removed from the show, which I think was a good decision, because obviously Tarkin's busy. He's a Moff. He has a lot of things to do. He has his agenda's busy. He can't just be focusing on the one extremist group or whatever. He's got to delegate. That's what you do in positions of power. You delegate. But like the guy he delegated to doesn't have enough presence throughout the show to like really establish like this is who the batch is against. Because even Crosshair, who you would expect to be in the show, even if he's not interacting with the batch and at all times during all the episodes, but at least have him present so that you can always be like, cognizant that this is who they're actively going against. It kind of makes it has a better payoff when things like what happened in this episode with the setup and assassination of the senator happening. It's like, oh shit, it's like the bad guys are doing bad things, and I care because they've been doing bad things all the time and screwing with my friends that I've grown to love throughout the series. But that doesn't really happen. It's kind of like they've been more present through their absence, because I think we've been wondering like where are the bad guys in the show. Not to say that the show has been bad because they haven't been in it, but it needs to happen more so that they're more effective as antagonists directly towards the badge. But
because this guy is kind of boring. Like I can't even remember his name.
Right. Even his design is just like generic white guy. It's like okay.
Yeah, there's like nothing interesting about this character, honestly. Just
and it's weird. Yeah. And then thinking like if you think back to like Rebels, you will remember like the planets that were like under the Empire control. There seemed to be like at least like holograms of like Palpatine and like a presence that's like just more than we won the war. Which I mean maybe they're in that transition period,
Yeah.
But it like to Goose's point, the antagonist in the story serves the purpose of defining the protagonist, or in this case the Bad Batch. And apart from our general knowledge that yes, that's the Empire and they're evil,
right?
They're really, now we might, so they kind of like plotted an assassination, but it's almost like lackluster, like why is the Bad Batch against the Empire?
Right. Which they were doing like a good job, like at the beginning of the show, I think, with showing that and showing why the Empire is like against what they believe as a group. But all of a sudden, after they escape and they start working with Sid, and that's like, okay, well, now the Empire is kind of secondary. And even the stuff with Kamino, because I think the Kaminoans are in a way an antagonist to the Bad Batch as well. Like that stuff is also kind of like touch and go. It's kind of okay. We'll talk about it in this episode, then we let it go. But so it's like there's no active threat that they're kind of going through personally, which I know we'll that'll change after this episode because they're going to be, I think this is going to be
Yeah.
like the final arc, so to speak, because this is episode 11, I think. So I think that these last couple of episodes are going to be resolving what's happening on Ryloth. I think I'll probably be wrong, but it seems like that's how it's going because of how hard the show shifted, to like switching focus to what's happening here. It's kind of saying like, okay, this is very important. And we're focusing on this because now we're going in that direction.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I got.
Yeah, so
But which then brings up the question: is were the Bad Batch just a placeholder? Kind of like, they're a group. They're gonna intro the next series of characters. Clearly, they're already opening for Boba's arc. They're kind of like roping in people that haven't seen Rebels to like invest their time in Rebels. Now that they've shown like multiple like main characters Rebels, it's almost like, and it could make sense. Like, it's not like we've ever heard of the Bad Batch after in any.
You're saying that they're gonna
so there's a possibility they're just disappear.
My Bad Batch.
Yeah, they might just be
the
used
dead
to, like,
batch.
the Dead Batch. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good T-shirt.
Child,
I guess we're gonna have to
wait.
We're definitely gonna have to wait and find out. But I think there's a lot of possibilities with what they've done up to so far with all these characters that they've introduced. Not only the Bad Batch, but Omega specifically. Like, there's so much that can be done with this character. So I'm just looking forward to see which direction they're actually going to take it all the way towards the end. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were just, the Bad Batch was this vehicle to bridge Clone Wars with like everything else. So
and then that's totally valid. You want that canonical continuity, like gaps in between, because
especially of characters that otherwise wouldn't really be main characters of anything. Like, you're giving the chance for these characters that would normally kind of be in the background to shine. So even if in this episode, like, you didn't see that much of them, it was so exciting when you see their ship coming in and it's like, here's the batch, they're coming. And to see that interaction of Hera with Omega, I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah, that was a highlight of the episode for sure. Yeah.
And honestly, like, them having that conversation about how, flying is a feeling. I think that's the first time that I noticed that, Tech is their pilot and Tech is the most unfeeling of all of them. So, and then he was super confused, like, a feeling? What are you talking about?
What are feelings?
So it was like such a nice little touch. And especially when, Omega's so proud, like showing her room, like, oh my God, this is my favorite part of the ship. And Hera, like, my dream is to live in a ship. And then obviously for us that was Rebels and, her family and her ship, it still had very beautiful moments. And I thought it was really cool that we see that both Kanan and Hera have met the Bad Batch. And that for Kanan, it was like a negative experience because he'd just been betrayed by clones. So he didn't know what to make of the Bad Batch. But for Hera, it was like a positive experience because, they're bringing aid. And then she gets to meet Omega through them. And she gets to see another perspective because she thought that, they were the ones that were like in trouble. And Omega's like, well, aren't you guys in trouble? That's why we're here.
So we're here.
We're the guys. Yeah. So, I mean, it was really cool, actually, to see that. So I did enjoy the episode a lot. So.
What
were you gonna say, Mo?
Oh, please.
No, I was just gonna like add to the feeling thing that I don't know if it was intentional or not, but obviously it ties back for me. Like the minute that Hera was saying like, "Oh, it's a feeling," I was like, "The Rise of Skywalker." Finn talking to Jaina about like, "Oh, it's a feeling," which ties then, Mo, to what you were saying about the Force, and like, because obviously when Finn is talking about that feeling, he's talking about the Force, right? So I think it seems, based on kind of everything we're discussing here, that it kind of might have been like intentional to have that reference the Force, because that's literally what it was meant to. The reason it was phrased that way in Rise of Skywalker by Finn saying that, because he was tapping into the Force when he had these feelings. So maybe there was an intentionality to that, to connect thematically, right, to that movie and that theme.
No, absolutely, and then to also further their own agenda. Isn't there like a flying episodes coming soon for Star Wars?
Flying episodes coming soon.
Oh, the film Rogue Squadron.
There you go. That.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a
So they might be pushing.
it's one episode that's really long, and in movie theaters.
So maybe they're trying to also like anticipate that. Like maybe you see pilots kind of saying like, just follow your feeling, even though they're not in tune with the force or anything. It's just at the moment they do get in tune, because that's the only thing they're worried about, the present and the moment, which eliminates everything else, and they feel the force.
Possible.
Well, I think that especially starting with the shows, they've tried to make it, and they don't make it completely obvious all the time, but try to make it so that it's not only the Jedi or the Sith that have access to the Force. That's why we get like Night Sisters, and we get the creatures in Rebels, like the Lothwolf and the Bendu and all these characters that actually have access to the Force. So, I mean, all human beings, all creatures are supposed to have the Force flow through them. So, I mean, there has to be different degrees of how you can be in
the
tune
awareness to it.
So the fact that, you know, pilots specifically are attuned to a certain aspect of it, it wouldn't, you know, be out of the norm for that to be.
It'll make perfect sense. And to give credence to the theory I do not follow, that Omega might be, this might be
absolutely
Omega's awakening, like looking for that feeling, and then there's an awakening in the Force. But I still do not subscribe to that theory, so
I like that theory, so I'm gonna wait and see.
I'll give you the breadcrumbs so you follow the theory.
Absolutely, sure. I mean, absolutely, you can't be absolute. Absolute only Siths deal in absolute, which in itself is an absolute statement. But it's like, well, do or do not. There is no try. Also an absolute statement. Anyway, so Sith and Obi-Wan and Yoda are secret Sith. Anyway, but I'm 90% that Omega is Force sensitive. I mean, she's gotta have that little extra something. But we'll see. We'll see. But on another point about the episode that I thought was kind of bittersweet to see, because like definitely gonna happen, is when like we see Hera's mom. Like the minute I saw her, I'm like, you're gonna die. You're gonna die like in 2 episodes. So start saying goodbye, Hera. Start saying goodbye, because she's done for. I was like, I love to see you, but I know it's gonna happen. And it's
and that's definitely when Cham's gonna completely flip the switch.
Yep. And they're gonna have that's when the fallout between Hera and Sham's gonna happen. So I was like, it was very bittersweet, because I'm like, oh, the Hera's mom, but then it's like, oh,
we know what's gonna happen there.
But this is a mom in Star Wars, and we know that there's one thing that Disney and Star Wars do well is killing mothers. So absolutely hates mothers. So it's just like, if you're a hero, your mom's gotta die, and that's how it goes. And then now you have daddy issues all the time. Luke Skywalker, no mom, daddy issues. Hera, mom's gonna die, daddy issues. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yep.
So a preemptive drink for our future fallen mommy.
It's gonna hurt. We know it's coming, but it's still gonna hurt.
And anyway, like they set that up. It's gonna be at the refinery. And something's gonna happen there, and she's gonna get blown up. That's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something terrible.
I already feel bad about it.
Trying to save somebody or trying to make something happen.
It's gonna be horrible. But anyway, before we wrap up, I love that you made that comment about the music, Mo. But did you guys hear the Mando theme there at the end of the episode?
The Mando theme.
Yeah, watch it again.
Okay.
I need to watch it. I didn't catch the Mando theme.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm kind of bad actually, like at like picking up music, like some of these musical cues in these shows. Like I know that Kevin Kiner, the composer, is like really good at like weaving all of these like themes from all the shows and stuff, and obviously the John Williams things into it. But for some reason, I just don't catch that stuff in the first viewing. Except the Cat Bane stuff. That's like, it was so obvious, like the Western stuff. I'm like, okay, I got it. But exactly.
I'm pretty sure he tweeted about this last episode that he had a chance to like weave newer themes with older themes. So, and then listen at the end, the Mando theme shows up.
Is
Okay,
is it
I'll-
when
I'll check
is
it out.
is it when the clone is like just staring at the darkness?
I think it's right as they take Cham and the mom away for like being
Right.
traitors and stuff.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
right
yeah,
then.
so it's that scene
Yeah.
where the like
Yeah,
there's a
and maybe a little bit ahead.
clone.
Just like watch that whole scene at the end and let me know if you guys pick it up. I might be crazy,
Okay.
but I totally thought I picked it up.
Do we
I'll
know
check,
who
I'll
that
check.
clone is? Like it kind of
That's something I wanted to bring up. Actually, that clone, I forgot his name. You know, I mean, we're talking about the same clone, the clone with the cool haircut,
Hauser.
with
yeah,
the
it's Hauser.
with the pauldron.
the pauldron and the cool haircut. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, that's thanks for bringing him up because I wanted to talk about him a little bit before we wrap up. Because I think he was a very interesting clone to have show up in the show because obviously up until now the only clones that we have seen that have free will, so to speak, and autonomy and personality are obviously the Bad Batch and Rex, and all the other clones are behind their masks, their helmets. Sorry,
Rex.
behind their helmets. And all their gear has been stripped from personality. So like to have this clone remove his helmet and then also still keep like all his
The colors,
individual markings and kind of speak normally, right, with like not doubting commands and being empathetic, I thought was an interesting choice. I don't know if they're implying that his ship didn't go off, so he's still like normal and hasn't had his behavior changed by Order 66, or if I don't know if it's being set up for something,
or it could be the other way around, that the chips are losing their power as time goes by because they degrade.
Plausible.
That's also a possibility, which would entail why by the time the
Empire really comes into power,
there are no clones. They up there, so that could be it too.
Could be.
But it's. I mean, I think we'll probably see more of this clone next episode because I think he got sent to like look for Hera. So I'm guessing that it's gonna they might just end up teaming up, and that's just my guess.
Is he gonna die or is he gonna live?
See, because you could see this this clone was actually concerned. They were concerned about Hera from the beginning, and you can see that there's
they were like, oh, it's a child, like it wasn't like right away like, oh yeah, take them all prisoner, like they were like,
and even at the beginning when he catches her, like he should have, if he was like full following commands, he would have reported her immediately, but he was just like, I'm not going to report her yet, like I'm going to get in trouble maybe, but I'll do this one solid for now. But so it could be about the chip, it could be also about strength of character and loyalty, because this clone has been with Cham since the Clone Wars. So I don't know, that all of that might have to do with how the chips affect certain clones.
So I think for sure it's like something intentional that they're setting up that's going to have some sort of payoff in some way. Maybe I mean obviously it's one or the other. I think he's gonna survive and join the batch, or he's gonna like die helping Hera escape or something, but he's gonna have some payoff where he chooses to go against the Empire and either again defects or pays the price for being a good
I can totally see like a standoff between that clone and Crosshair. And like Crosshair
and then you see like both sides,
because it's a rag that's like beating me up, and then Crosshair ends up killing him or something. But
that would be interesting.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
interesting.
Let's see how it pays out.
Tune in next week.
Let's see if anybody's right about anything.
We'll all be wrong. We'll all be
more
wrong.
likely than not, we will all be wrong.
Yeah, he'll just paint his helmet black and be like super evil and just kill the Bad Batch. That's what's gonna happen.
All Terminator like.
Yeah, good soldiers follow orders. Blah 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 blah. Just kill everybody.
Everybody did.
Yeah, red herring. Yeah.
Well, I think on that note, let's wait what happens next week. Yeah.
Yes.
The Star Wars Red Wedding. Yes.
The Star Wars Red Wedding. Well, we're going to see what happens next week. Thank you for joining us. This is our 50th episode, guys. We are Triad of the Force. You can find us wherever podcasts can be found. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter. Just search Triad of the Force. Look for our TeePublic. We have t-shirts. And remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring that bell, and let us know what you're thinking. With that, may the Force be with you.